What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you a profile updated thanks to the banners, because this time it is the return of Masterpiece, the true Draco slaying king. That's right, this card has now come back to 1, and the best thing about it is you can utilize it with the Yugioh strategy. Now I showed you originally a build that did not involve Masterpiece. This is an updated version. It hasn't changed a huge amount, but for all of those that are new to the Masterpiece card and how it works, I'm going to talk you through the way that it plays, how you can enhance it with this particular strategy, and how, in my opinion, playing the Yugiohs gives you the best possible option. Now, this is a non-extra deck version, which means we don't have any extra deck whatsoever. If you did want to play an extra deck version, that would then start opening up the options to play stuff like Varudrash for protection. You could start playing Ultimate Slayers for field breakers and everything else in between. This one is just designed to get you access to your Masterpiece, being able to kind of continue to utilize your normal summons, give you free monster fodder that can be tributed off in the form of the Yugiohs to facilitate your Dracos, and then playing cards that give you additional normal summons in order to do so. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Diving headfirst into the profile and starting off with the newly returned king in the form of Masterpiece. So this one can also be accessible as a Platinum Secret Rare or a Quarter Century Secret Rare. The original print was a Secret Rare. Before the ban list, when I looked at it, a Quarter Century was £20. A Secret Rare is £13 currently, and a Platinum Secret Rare was £3, but the chances are it's probably gone up now that it's back off the list. So to tribute summon this card, you can tribute it using continuous spells and traps you control, which is basically the whole idea of the true Dracos. And then on top of that as well, it's unaffected by the effects of cards with the same card type, monster spells, and traps of the original type of the cards that you tributed. So if you tribute a trap, it's unaffected by trap effects. If you tribute a spell, it will also be unaffected by spell effects. Tribute a monster, unaffected by monster effects. One very important thing to note about this, because you will play cards in this main deck or the side deck, or kind of how you put it in the form of Monarch's Erupt. You can also go with Skill Drain, and of course you can go with a Sync Power Stone. Even if you were to tribute off a trap to summon this guy down, if Skill Drain is already face up on the field, Masterpiece is not unaffected by trap cards because Skill Drain will negate its effects. However, if Masterpiece is already on the field and then you flip Skill Drain, Masterpiece will still be unaffected, meaning you can still use its effect. And its effect is actually pretty good. So while you control this tribute summon card, once per turn during either player's turn, you get to banish a continuous spell or a trap from the graveyard to target any card on the field and destroy it. And it's 2950, 2950. Keeping in mind, when you have Diagram in play, it'll be up by 300 and it will have to be attacked twice to be killed. So it's an insanely powerful boss monster. The only thing that is missing for True Dracos to really come back into its full power is 2 more copies of Diagram, which will just give you even more consistency to get to this. And if that happens, you can start getting rid of the Yugioh engine and you start working your way into more of the old school, being able to play Floodgates, being able to play more continuous trap cards, because you can pretty much tribute them off whenever you see fit. So for the other true Dracos that we play, you do play 3 of the Dynamite Knight. So this is the one that gets you access to your trap cards. So when your opponent activates a card or effect, you get to either add to your hand or activate a true King or a true Draco continuous trap card from the deck. So that's really important. And then of course you've got your 3 Ignis Heat. This one allows you to add or activate continuous Draco or True King spell cards. And then we've got 2 Majesty, and this one allows you to search out a true Draco monster. Now, more times than not, you do want to go for your Ignis Heat or you want to go for your Dynamite Knight, because when you get to those spells or traps, the spells give you an additional normal summon during your turn when you activate the effects, and then the trap cards give you an additional normal summon when you do it, or a tribute summon when you do it during your opponent's turn. So it's one of them ones that you can summon out Masterpiece during your opponent's turn, which is absolutely fine. And there are ways of being able to get Maiden onto the field. Maiden searches you out, you get an additional tribute summon down your Masterpiece and work from there. But the thing that you need to rely less on the Maiden, which is what makes it work, is the fact that the Yugiohs will search you out your Masterpiece. It can also search you out into Ignis Heat, the Dynamite Knight, or of course the Maiden, depending on which one you want to go for. But the chances are, when you're trying to search out a monster, you're probably not going to go for the Maiden. If you get a choice of what you search, you're going to go straight away for your Masterpiece. And the fact of the matter is, what makes the Yugioh so good is that they also give you access to continuous spell cards. The only thing they don't give you access to right now is continuous trap cards, but then that's when you're going to be able to get rest of your general Floodgates, or just going to focus a little bit more on your true Dracos to get you there. Being able to get access to monsters and spells all from one card off of the back of your true off of the back of the Yugiohs, and possibly even searching out Masterpiece, can be near invaluable. And then we also play the 1 diagram. Unfortunately, it is at 1, but this one allows you all true Dracos and true King monsters on the field gain 300 on attack and defense. The first time each tribute summon true Draco or true King monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, it is not destroyed. And then once per turn, you get to destroy one other card you control or in your hand, and if you do, add a true Draco or a true King from the deck to the hand, so just more consistency to get to your pieces. Then we've got free heritage. So this one is during your main phase, you get to draw cards equal to the number of true Draco cards and true King cards, types, monsters, spells, and traps that have been sent from the field to the graveyard this turn. So technically you can draw up to 3 per turn. And the idea is you can activate something like heritage or even something like disciples, which will give you an additional normal summon. You tribute off the spells that will then allow you to get the draw once you do that. Then on top of that as well is you have the ability that during your main phase, you can immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summon 1 true Draco or true King monster face up. If this card is sent from the spell and trap zones to the graveyard, get the target spell or trap on the field and destroy it. So obviously your spell cards are going to be your back row hate, and then your traps are going to be your monster hate. Disciples lets you target 3 true Draco and or true King cards in the graveyard, shuffle them into the deck and draw 1. So it lets you recycle your heritages, it lets you recycle your apocalypses, it can even let you recycle your masterpiece as well. And then again, it gives you the ability that during your main phase, you activate the effect and you get an additional tribute summon, or not an additional tribute summon, that's probably like the wrong terminology to be using, because it's like activated effect. So technically if I have heritage and I have disciple up, I can activate heritage, that gives me the tribute summon. I can activate disciples, that will give me a tribute summon, and then I would already have my normal tribute summon for the entire turn. So when you play something like Time Terror and Morganite, it basically gives you the ability to tribute summon 4 times a turn, which is a little bit OTT. You don't need to do that, but you can also just end your field in like a Majesty, a Dynamite Knight, an Ignis, and a Masterpiece. You'll have loads of resource. So the Disciples obviously gives you the same effect, and if it's sent from field to grave, you get to destroy a spell trap on the field. Then for the trap cards, you play Triple Apocalypse. So this one is if this card is sent from the spell and trap zones to the graveyard to get to target a monster on the field and destroy it, you can't activate the following effects of the true Draco Apocalypse in the same chain. So it basically means you can't go Chain Link 1 Apocalypse, they do something, and then go Chain Link 3 Apocalypse again. It doesn't work that way. But this one is, you get to target one other true Draco or true King card you control, destroy it, and if you do, the attack and defense of all face-up monsters your opponent controls become half their current attack and defense, even if this card leaves the field. Or you get the option to, during your opponent's main phase, you can immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summon 1 true Draco or true King monster face up. So the idea is that if you get Majesty, they activate an effect, Majesty searches you out a monster, they activate another effect, you activate Dynamite Knight, you get your trap card activated face up, you can activate the Apocalypse to give you that tribute summon. You can tribute off the Apocalypse, tribute off one of your monsters, bring down Masterpiece. It's unaffected by traps, unaffected by monster effects. Plus you sent Apocalypse from field to grave, so you get to destroy one of your opponent's monsters. And then of course you'd have Masterpiece to banish the Apocalypse from the graveyard and then destroy another card. So it can be very, very powerful when it works that way. And then we've got 2 True King returns. Now this one you can rely a little bit less on, but it's more so you need continuous trap cards in this just to kind of get you the ability to tribute during your opponent's turn. So like Apocalypse, it has the exact same thing. If it's sent from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard, target a monster on the field and destroy it. You can't activate the following effects in the same chain, but obviously you can activate both effects in the same turn because you're going to use each effect once per turn. So you get to target a true Draco or true King monster in the graveyard and special summon it in defense. But for the rest of the turn, you can't special summon monsters, which is absolutely fine because you're not really going to be doing that for the rest of the turn. You're going to be doing this during your opponent's turn mainly. And then during your opponent's main phase, again, trigger the effect to immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summon a true Draco or a true King monster face up. So obviously I can go activate True King's Return, bring back a monster to from the grave to the field, and then on a completely new chain, activate True King's Return, tribute off True King's Return, tribute off the monster I just brought back with it, summon that Masterpiece, pop a card off of True King's Return, banish the True King's Return through Masterpiece's effect to pop another card. So that's it for the True Draco cards. Moving on to the Ryujis. So for the Ryujis, we've got 3 of the Misva. So the idea behind this is your ideal starter. You can, of course, utilize your Rising, which is why you max out on this. It is a 44 card deck, but the idea is that the Rising leads you to the Misva. You could cut one of these down to 2 if you wanted to, but what I like about this is if I open up this and then access to any of my True Dracos, or even if I don't need to get access to my True Dracos, I can search out my True Dracos through the War Zone. It gives me the ability to get, ideally, 3 monsters on the field, and then off of those 3 monsters, I can get a guaranteed at least 1 continuous spell card. So I've already got monster fodder that can be tributed off for stuff like my Ignis, for my Majesty, for my Dynamite Knight, but then I also have double fodder that can just be tributed straight off to make my Masterpiece. And then of course we've got 2 of the Hackvar. So the Hackvar, what I like about this is you get to banish this card from the hand, and if you do, you add a continuous spell card. So if you're like, I've got all monsters but I want a spell card, you just go, cool, banish the Hackvar, get you the Worm Winds. You can either tribute off the Worm Winds, or of course you can just leave it on the field, and then what it means is during your opponent's turn, any monster sent from the field to the graveyard is banished instead. So obviously it means your spells and traps will still go to the grave, which means you can still destroy their own cards, but your monsters will not go to the grave, they will get banished. That's one thing to keep in mind. On top of that as well, you do have the ability with Hackvar, is it's like one of the only Ryuji cards that let you target one of your Ryuji cards. So you place a Ryuji Worm Winds you control on the bottom of the deck to add a Ryuji card from the deck or grave or banishment into the hand. So obviously if you start utilizing the other Ryuji continuous spell cards, which I'll talk about in a minute, Hackvar is the only one that can let you recycle them. We then play the 2 Kaiva, and obviously it's risky if you only play one of the Dino and one of the Sea Serpent. For the pure fact, if you hard open up one of them, it just makes your play so much more awkward, because when you activate the War Zone, you have to add a worm, send a worm, or banish a worm, and then you've got to add, banish, or send one of the other 2 types as well. So you have to be able to resolve all 3 types. Yes, you're playing more worms. Yes, you could play Hackvar a little bit less, but what I like about having multiple Hackvar is if I hard open up that card, it still gets me to a continuous spell card, whereas the other ones, again, the Kaiva can still get me to a continuous spell card as well, so it's not completely dead if I do hard open it, and neither is the Ember, because the Ember also gives you the ability to discard this to grab you its own continuous spell card. So there are ways to recycle these back, and if you wanted to cut these down to 1s each, you could do. You just don't want to rely on, like, if I open up this and their continuous spell, I can't get rid of it, which then means my search for any of my true Dracos is completely dead. So the Kaiva, you get to shuffle this card from the hand into the deck to add its own realm, which will of course be the Dino Domains. You don't really need to worry about the secondary effects of this card because it's mainly just going to be used as continuous spell tribute fodder. And then of course you've got the 2 Ember. Again, you get to discard this card to add a Ryuji Realm Sea Spires, which will be this one here. And then obviously, the fact of the matter is this goes to the graveyard, so you still need to be able to add this. The only one that goes back to the deck itself is the Kaiva, so that's the only one you don't care about hard opening. Where if you were only to play one of it, because it can put itself back. But this one and the Hackvar can't recycle themselves. The Hackvar you don't worry about too much because you're already playing worms, so you can still do that search that you need to, but you're only playing 1 Sea Serpent, so you ideally need to have this go back into the deck, which obviously won't happen. It'll go to the grave, and then you're like, okay, cool, I can't resolve my card effect, so that's why you're playing 2 of those. Then got 2 War Zones. So this is the card that makes it all tick really well. So you get to, when it's activated, you take a Dino, Sea Serpent, and Worm monster from the deck and either add it to the, so you add one to the hand, banish one, and send one to the graveyard. You can't special summon for the rest of the turn except Dragons, Dinos, Sea Serpents, or Worms, which is absolutely fine because you're not going to be special summoning anything outside of those. And if you have Misfire in your extra deck, you get to special summon 3 Ryuji monsters with different types, 1 each from deck, grave, and or banishment. So that's just going to give you your free monster fodder, which means if you wanted to cut down the Misfire and not rely on that ability, and you were like, okay, cool, well, I actually just want to hard open up the War Zone, search me out my Masterpiece, search me out some tribute fodders or cards like, because then what you would do is you'd go, cool, activate War Zone, grab you an Ember and grab your Kaiva, and you'll go, okay, cool, that's absolutely fine. And then what you do is you discard the Ember, you'd get its Sea Spires, you would then send the Kaiva back to the deck, get its other Sea Spires, and then what you've done, without even playing the Misfire, is you've ended up getting access to 2 continuous spell cards, which then become 2 free bits of fodder that you can just tribute off. So you can actually cut the Ryuji engine down quite a bit, and literally at a base minimum, you could go 3 War Zones if you wanted to. You could then be able to go 1 or 2 Embers, 1 or 2 Kaivas, and then you would go with Sea Spires and Dino Domain, right? So that's like how you would cut it down to a base minimum, but then you still kind of want the Misfire to help you out because that'll give you the free monster fodder. The one thing you lose without the Misfire is you won't get access to all the monsters on the field. So it's up to you whether you want the free monsters on the field or whether you just want smaller engine and get you access to the continuous spells. So it really is up to you on how you'd want to adapt it, but that's kind of like what you'd be looking for at a max push, but then also as a minimum push. And what I quite like about this is even if I don't use the monsters as tribute fodder, I get free 3k monsters. So it's like, cool, I've got 3 of these on the field. I then add any of my true Dracos to that field, and that's an OTK without me even needing to use Misfire to summon itself out. And then the other benefit about Misfire is I can summon it during my opponent's turn when they destroy a card, or when I destroy a card as well. Let me just double check, is it one of my cards? If a monster or monsters on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, so even when you destroy it with either Masterpiece or if you destroy it with your own trap card effects, You get to tribute a level 10 Ryuji monster, and if you do special on this card, this is treated as a ritual summon, and then you can apply the effect. Destroy up to 2 cards you control, and if you do, place up to that many Ryuji continuous spells from the deck face up on the field. So if you want spell immunity for a masterpiece you have in the hand, for example, you can obviously trade off one of your monsters for that spell card. So it still has like some really nice synergy. Then for the generic spells we're playing is triple Monarch Stormforth. Now the one big important thing about Monarch Stormforth, which doesn't clash like Monarch's Erupt, because Monarch's Erupt needs you to have no monsters in your extra deck, whereas Stormforth literally says once during the turn, if you would tribute summon a monster or monsters, you get to tribute summon a monster your opponent controls instead, as if you controlled it. You can only activate 1 Monarch Stormforth per turn, and then during the turn you activate this card, you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck. So the only thing it locks you out of in this particular version is summoning the Misfer out, which is absolutely fine, because then more times than not you can summon the Misfer during your opponent's turn. Even that being said, what I love about Monarch Stormforth is you set Monarch Stormforth, you can activate your trap card's effect of being able to tribute to summon into a Draco. So you go, okay, cool, chaining 1 True King's Return, and they're like, okay, cool, and then you go chaining 2 Monarch Stormforth. As this resolves, Monarch Stormforth, you then resolve the True King, tributing off your opponent's monster, and then summoning down your own True King card, True Draco card. The idea is, like, basically you can start your turn by activating Monarch Stormforth, and then if they forget that Monarch Stormforth is even active for that entire period, at any point you can go, cool, activate the tribute effect to this, and they're like, right, okay, they're going to tribute off a trap card to pop a card, and you go, no, okay, cool. Summon down Masterpiece, tributing off one of your monsters for its summon. Like, I just love Monarch Stormforth. I mean, it's such a good card. And then it's such a good card going second as well, because you go, cool, draw phase, activate Monarch Stormforth. Straight away, you go into your main phase, and you go, cool, tribute off, for example, your Detonator, and go into Majesty. And they're like, they've had no way to respond. The only way they could respond is if they wanted to pop their own Detonator with the, when you activate Monarch Stormforth, because this doesn't select a target, Monarch Stormforth doesn't select a target, you just activate it. And then it's like, okay, cool, so you either respond now and you clear off all their monsters so that they don't give you any free tribute fodder, or you just go, okay, cool, main phase, tribute off your monster, summon down Majesty. And it just gets past anything. Like, it's so good. The only thing that this doesn't get past, I believe, if the ruling is still the same, is any card that is unaffected by spell effects, it can't tribute off. Even though this technically isn't a spell effect, I think I had this before where someone was able to protect a Dark Law with a Forbidden Lancia, I believe is the card that someone used. But this was like back in, this came out in like, what, Duelist Alliance, which is, what, like 2014, which is wild. So like nearly 11 years ago or something along those lines, maybe even 2016, so 9 years ago. But that's just kind of an example to kind of use for you. The other card, which is a bit more like overkill, you don't need to be playing this, but I still like it, is Time Terror Morganite. What I love about this is it allows me to conduct a additional normal summon. So my normal summons are all going to be tribute summons anyway. I can't activate card effects in the hand when I activate it, which is like, that's absolutely fine, because the only monster effect in my hand that I want to activate will be my Ember or my Kaiva or my Hakva. So if I've already used their effects to get my continuous spells, I don't care about not being able to activate them for the rest of the turn. So you'd always activate them first to get your continuous spell cards and then activate Morganite. So Morganite lets you also draw 2 cards instead of 1 during the normal draw phase, so it makes your grind game a little bit faster. And then on top of that as well, you can conduct 2 normal summons or sets per turn, not just 1. So you just be able to go, cool, normal summon as a tribute, and kind of work it from there. So it just works out nicely. It basically gives you the effect of your True Draco spells without actually having to have your True Draco spells there. And the last card we play is the Terraforming, because obviously you've got your diagram, which you'd want to be searching out, but you want your diagram to be after your war zone, because you can replace your war zone. You don't really want to be replacing your diagram with war zone, because diagram's like so important to leave on the field, specifically that it's at 1 as well. So that's kind of really kind of cool. You can consider something like set rotation. I kind of felt that it wasn't really necessary. It kind of felt like it was clogging it down a little bit more than it needed to. So yeah. Anyway, I do like this hybrid of this version. It's basically like modern worms with, well, I say worms when it's technically like dragon worms, dinos, and everything else. But I quite like the idea that it's modernized with like the old school, and just having Masterpiece back as well is something that Shane's been asking for absolutely ages. And I think Masterpiece is the only card, correct me if I'm wrong, that changed on the ban list that is in Stampede, that was printed in there, and everyone's like, oh, this can come back, Electromite can come back, and then I think this is the only one that did come back. And then what I also like as well is when you look at these together, it's like they were matched made, apart from this not being blue, but you've got like Misvar and Masterpiece, you've got Hakvar and Dynamite Knight, you've got Ignis Heat and Kaiva, and then obviously Ember and Majesty. Obviously, if you wanted to do attributes, you'd go, cool, Wind, well, it's not even fire, that's annoying, but light, light, water, water, and then I guess you're going to have to go earth, fire. But the idea is, like, even if you went with the colours, it's just like, I don't know, it kind of feels like these are supposed to be going together, even though they're not directly supposed to be going together. But I still think it's a really kind of cool hybrid, and I think it could be a deck that will catch a lot of people off. It's got nice aggression. It will struggle against Drow and Lockbird, but then that's where your True Dracos kind of come into play. But the one thing that True Dracos are good with, if they don't get hit with Droll, is being able to kind of regain their resource, and even then they can do their resource during your opponent's turn as well. So really kind of fun, really important, and still a very kind of cool control deck. And like I said, with this version, you could very easily have an extra deck. You just won't be able to summon from it when you activate Monarch Stormforth, which again is absolutely fine. And then that's when you could start going into your breakers for your side deck, when you can start looking at Ultimate Slayer, Metal Tronus if you want to. You've got so much flexibility. You could consider Pot of Extravagance if you wanted to, just get a little bit more draw power, so that is entirely up to you. The other kind of cards that I would consider for your side deck is you can look at stuff like Anti-Spell Fragrance, you can look at Rivalry, you can look at... Technically, you could play Tikaboo in this one because you would go with Sea Serpent, Dino, and then a Worm. But keeping in mind, you have to like actually old school Tribute Summon set to get out of the There Can Only Be One. But even then, just There Can Only Be One, you've got 3 3k boss monsters. You've got Power Sink Stone, which is basically like a skill drain as well. And if you don't play with the extra deck, that's when you can start utilising Monarch's Erupt. But if you do play with the extra deck, like I said, you then open up the door to loads of different kind of cards for yourselves, and you kind of work it that way. The fact you also have the ability to play additional normal summons, it means you can be a little bit riskier, and you can go, cool, draw phase, standby phase, main phase, normal summon Denko Sekka, normal summon Kokimura Guardian, normal summon... Amino Wato was a classic that they used to use back in the day as well, which was really funny because Amino Wato would return to the hand. So you would stop your opponent being able to activate any monster effects, and then you'd return it back to the hand during the end phase, and you'd go, cool, well, the next time it comes around, I'll go normal summon Amino Wato, put you back under the lock, and Amino Wato still a 1900 like beat stick. So it does open up the door for those particular type of options as well, which I think is kind of cool. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. But for now, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.